And here's my beef with certain comedians now. I'll pick on Jerry Seinfeld because I know he's said it. They're talking about
literally tear him apart. He's not even going to listen to you. So go ahead.
That's why he won't know about
Even
it.
if this gets 400 million views and shares and it becomes the biggest video on YouTube, Jerry Seinfeld.
He'll be driving like a little stick shift convertible with Bernie Mac or some shit. He's dead, but whatever.
Hey, Jerry, there's someone shitting on you in this video. Why would I watch it? I gotta make another episode.
Does he have millions of dollars? No?
What's
Fuck
the
him.
deal with this guy talking about my comedy? That's not a good Seinfeld.
You want to introduce the podcast? Tyler.
Okay, Comedy Theory Podcast, name to be changed soon, hopefully, if Connor breaks.
Dude!
Episode 2, I'm Tyler Senjanin.
I'm Connor Ford.
And I'm Kellen Frank.
Today we have Kellen Frank on the podcast.
I'm a podcast guest. Usually I was a host.
Oh, how the world
So he's
has
very
changed.
uncomfortable.
Kellen Frank is a newer stand-up comic, so we will be the Catholic priests in this situation, and he will be the choir boy, because we will be grilling him.
Years of dementia would make Connor's
Usually
metaphors get farther and farther away from reality.
Used to be the priest would spit roast me, but I guess it's going to be grilling today.
This podcast is rated R, friends and family.
Pretty sure it's NC-17.
What's the radio equivalent of rated R?
I don't think they have it because they just don't let you do it on the radio.
It's a CE, cover ears.
Rated FCC,
I mean, there's
go
like-
fuck yourself.
There's unsearchable on Patreon, which is what every good podcast is.
What's that?
Well, yeah,
It's like Patreon says like you're not safe for work, so you have to put in a specific URL instead of being searched.
That's smart. That's them going, hey, listen, a lot of our people on this thing swear and say things that you would not say in front of, say, your grandparents or
Aren't
your
there
boss.
like porn stars on Patreon too? Where
Oh,
they're like,
yeah, I think so.
support me, keep doing dudes.
Can we talk about that for just a split second? About how I wonder if that was
We
a
already
revelation. No, just like choosing that career path. Because I wonder if they were just at Starbucks and they were like, I had enough. I'm gonna find a new.
Tyler,
way to make
you
money.
work at Starbucks.
And
This
he's
is
had enough.
concerning.
Guys, I have an announcement that I'm really excited for. You can find me on Patreon as Tyler Gets It. It's my name, no space. But today we're going to be
No
talking...
space, but a lot of spaces.
Ayo, I get
Zing.
destroyed.
So, as we were saying, Kellen is a newer comedian, so we want to harass him a little bit about what it is like just starting comedy.
It's been so long that you guys have forgotten. It's back in the ether of your past, right?
yeah.
2 whole years ago. Tyler, it's been a minute. 4?
What? Oh, for me, I mean, was it
Told you, back in the
1800s? Who knows? When I really started. I mean, for me, it's like, it's all relative. Like, we say new, but like to someone else, we're still new.
we're
as
new
hell.
as
Yeah,
fuck.
we're new.
We admit it on the very first podcast.
We're the
and
least
every
newest
time
in this room, though. So hey,
But I've only done it like 5 times and I've never been paid.
You're very good for
Yeah.
just doing it for a couple of times.
I was
It is
so
very
happy.
good.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's nerve-wracking kind of for the same reason that I am as good as I could be said to be, which is that I write a little bit, but mostly I'm just going up and just doing a less toned-down version of myself.
Yep.
Like I put a little bit more writing into it, or like a little more forethought, and then I just don't not say things that I would be in a normal
Yeah, that's
conversation and not say. So it is a little bit like, I'm not going up there and playing a musical piece that if they don't like it, oh, maybe they didn't like the piece. It's like, no, they didn't like you. They think you're not funny. You're not interesting.
It's like, oh, my piano or my guitar was out of tune, so I understand why they didn't
No,
like
you
it.
were out of tune.
Yeah, right. It's like,
You
but when
personally are not entertaining.
Aye. No, yeah, because that's the cool, and I feel like that's the best way to start out. I feel if you go in there with like, the script in your hand and everything, you can kind of like, there could be a disconnect behind like what you're trying to really do up there. Because I feel like you went up there and you had a story that I could tell you've told a bunch of times. So
just as casual conversation, right?
Right.
Exactly, yeah. So like when you went up there with the kind of right kind of prepped, where it's more nature than prepared. Like
I had the broad strokes sketched,
Exactly.
and then I
had fun.
did little flourishes in there, like vibrato or whatever you musicians do.
Vibrato.
I've heard that term. Check
So where Italian stuff is usually
I
related to
blew
music.
an Italian dude. His name was Vibrato, actually.
Like, what is it,
It's all connected.
Vibrating?
Guy.
Wait. When and where? No.
I think I was there.
I think I was vibrato.
Did you ever look down? No.
That's in a Shakespeare play, right? A guy named Vibrato gets blown. I feel like that's subtext of Shakespeare. Merchant of Venice? Probably.
Merchant of Venice. It was that section that the Catholic
was
high
that
schools
joke.
aren't allowed to put in their shows.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I don't say even even when I'm doing comedy, is Merchant of Venice references.
Yeah.
Because I have them, and I find times to make them in real life,
Well,
and I have to stop.
If you guys heard that whoosh as he said that joke, it was it going right over my head.
He did the hand movement in real life. We got it. But
Yeah, that's just like one of the. For me, it's like haha, because it's like that one. It's that like one Shakespeare play where it's like if you hadn't put Shakespeare before it and you just said Merchants of Venice, a lot of people would be like, "What's that?"
Tolstoy?
Yeah, Tolstoy.
Right.
That sounds like a
He's
bad
definitely a playwright for sure.
Game of Thrones.
He probably wrote a play. Old-timey guys wrote everything.
Yeah, because there was nothing to do.
Yeah, like everybody wrote, like Oscar
Either
Wilde
this or
wrote plays
masturbate
and
for the
books.
7th time today. I
I'm
guess I'll
dry.
write another play.
Oscar Wilde did both at the same time, I think.
That's why they're so good.
Right.
Oh, he's
yeah.
he's like Einstein, ambidextrous.
Hey,
Is that
Einstein was ambidextrous.
I
He
didn't
would
know.
write with 2 pens at the same time and also jerk off 2 dudes at the same time. That's
Fact.
You don't have
Look
to be
it up.
ambidextrous to do that. You can be.
discover-
You
Yeah,
just
when they-
do
you
one
be
clumsy.
determined. Yeah,
When
you-
they used to say he would always row a boat into the middle of the lake, that was a euphemism for him just going to town on 2 dudes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, fun fact.
You thought he was a patent clerk. Actually, a Patreon porn star. The first.
it's all connected.
Yeah, Patreon's that old, guys.
He started Patreon, actually.
That's hilarious.
No, but I do definitely appreciate the tell a story and then just take it up on stage. But it's that fine line of like if I think of a good story, I do like telling it to people beforehand, but it also feels cheap. It's like a weird ebb and flow, just like everything else in comedy, where you're like, I'll think something's funny, I will tell it to a couple of people before I take it on stage, and then if they think it's funny, I'll take it on stage, and if they don't, I won't. Sometimes I completely skip that process, sometimes I stick with it, but when you do it, it's often that the joke is better. Like, one of my best jokes, I was riffing on the way to the comedy set, and I was making my girlfriend laugh, which is hard to do. And
Real
she was
raw
like,
nerve, that.
Well, no,
It is, and I think that's why I'm worried she doesn't like
but
me.
she doesn't like lose her mind laughing.
Right.
And I got her this one time, and then I went up on stage and told her, and it killed there. And I'm like, oh, I really got something here.
It makes you question what part of it was like that little bit of prep, or what part was like the fact that you had the confidence behind it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you knew that it was funny because that, and maybe if you didn't have that element right before,
Yeah,
that would have made the difference. Who knows? But it's like it's so hard to pinpoint.
yeah. It's just if you think something's funny, just fucking. I
Yeah.
always take it up there. I always
Trust
anything
your
I
own
think is
funny is such a. I write jokes that I find funny, and then like you take it up there and you kind of like study it and study the response. You kind of go like, okay, so I need to understand that, like 60%
What have I done?
Like I've gone up there with stuff that I thought was so sincerely funny. I was excited to say it, and then I said it to nothing, and I just went, well, I heard the chunk of my soul crack off and hit the ground like a petal in Rose Beauty and the Beast. Like it was like, oh,
It's a whole other type of pain.
And it's so hard when that happens to find a middle ground between like, all right, fuck you guys, and I'm just terrible. Like you have to be able to be like, okay, they didn't like that. I'm still funny, and I can still think that's funny,
Err
but
on
they
the
didn't
side
like
of
it.
fuck you guys.
yeah.
I think you do that too
I actually
much.
disagree with that actually.
Really?
Yeah. Err on the side of fuck the audience. No.
No. Not in when you're going back and thinking about what did I do.
Oh,
wrong on the
I was
set.
about to be
but
like,
when
dude.
you're on stage,
Yeah.
I would argue err on the side of fuck you guys rather than I'm not funny. Because self-deprecation does very well at the Ashbury Coffee House every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. in Willow Springs. It does very well there because of the age group we're playing to, but every time I do somewhere else, self-deprecation, they're like, he is not a confident comedian. is
Older
what I
older
feel.
people do not get like the kind
The
of
self-deprecation.
the self-hate or the
But
But
depression
there's
that
still, you
millennials
gotta
and Gen Z
recognize
have.
that you're part of your audience, so you have to find the middle ground. And older people like being told to fuck off because they're 40. They don't get that anymore.
Right, and it's funny and novel for someone
Yeah.
to tell them something they
Funny
deserve to
and
hear.
novel. Did you hear that, dear? He told me to go eat my own dick. How trivial.
I haven't heard that since the 60s.
Jeeves,
Ja.
Jeeves, you'll never. No, keep your eyes on the road, Jeeves. But Jeeves, you'll never believe what this comedian told me to do.
I haven't been ribbed like that since Eisenhower.
Told me to fuck myself to death, and I deserve it.
Gosh dang it, I'm gonna make sure that woman
people
rips me
I
a
have
nice.
stepped on.
But my thing is, I feel whenever I always don't go necessarily for the self-deprecating. I
away
kind of go
from
for
the
the
mic.
situationalness of a bomb. Like if you say a joke and nothing happens, you kind of go. I always go like, wow. You know, like, whoa, really? Seriously? Hold on, I gotta make some calls. Did you hear it? Yeah. No, they didn't laugh. I know, right? Like I did that once and it worked. There's so many ways to go about it.
You
Fuck
gotta-
you is good for a persona build, and it's also
Yeah.
good as like a knee jerk when you don't have a persona.
Well, I'm a lot more of a dick on stage than I am in person. I like to think.
No comment.
No, like I I like to think that I'm much meaner on stage just because the writing and the style I have. I feel like that's the best way to portray the confidence in the comedy, and that's just my voice right now. I mean, that's not going to be it forever. I don't know where it's going.
It's a phase, maybe.
Tonight we're going up Tuesday night at
Uptown
in Westmont at 9 p.m. We're going up tonight, and I think I'm going to give out the try of just like instead of trying to do slower or faster comedy, just talk to the audience like I'm telling a story to a friend, which is a good
pretty much what I
to
do.
Bring it back. Well, it works. It works very well. Will does it, you do it, and it works very well. And I think it's just something I've gotten away from as I've written more and more and more and more. You'll get away from it, so you have to take that moment and just step back and be like, what do I need to fix? That you bitch.
Oh, the other reason I like telling a story is to the degree that I have a comedy sensibility. I've only done it 5 times, but it is just my sense of humor in general, whether it's on stage or not, is I'm not thinking of funny stuff to say. The world is already dumb and funny. I'm just saying it in a tone of voice that makes you realize that. That's really, and that when people, whenever someone's like, how do you, I mean, no one actually, people will say like, hey, you're funny.
People are running on the
No
street.
one's like, how do you do it?
You specifically.
I almost said when people come to me and say, how do you do it? People don't fucking do that.
How did you get so famous?
Right, yeah, that I even know who you are.
But when people talk, like when people condescendingly go like, "How do you write jokes?" or some shit like that.
People will just say that I'm funny, and they'll be, and they don't realize that it's like they're like, "How do you do that?" I'm like, "I'm not doing it. The world is doing it. This is all extremely stupid."
You just gotta notice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All comedy is like seeing some fucked up shit and noticing. Like today at work, me and one of my friends at work were just filling up a gas tank, and we're just killing a little bit of time. Like I was eating a sandwich and I didn't want to drive while eating the sandwich, so we we're just waiting there. And this one, like a chick pulls up, and like we notice like, oh, she's got a pretty face, and then she gets out of the car and she walks in, and we're like, oh, she's got a great ass too. And then on the way back out, it was a big sandwich. On the way back out, she had like a great rack. Why am I censoring myself? She had perfect tits.
She had great breasts.
Yeah, she was just a perfect 10, man. And I'm like, and no, I was sitting there, and I'm like, I would have been like, I'm mad now. Like she was hot, and then she was hot again, and then she was hot for a third time. If I just saw her all at once and like, oh, that's an attractive woman, I would have been able to move on with my day. But now I have to think about it all day because she was hot in 3 separate parts. I noticed 3 different times. Like, oh, she's hot. Oh, she's still hot. Damn, she's got it all. It's bullshit because that's all I'm thinking about anymore. I'm like, God damn.
I get very frustrated when interesting or funny people are attractive. Because I'm like, no, you get one. You get one.
You get one. You go eat lead paint chips to bring you down a bit because those eyes are too symmetrical, all right?
I get by on quick one-liners and just that. You can't have that and a nice face.
I had to learn to weaponize my personality to have a place in this world, and you just get to stay in the corner.
Shout out to Austin Smith. Is attractive.
The autistic guy I went to high school with?
No, you've met Austin. He was at the graduation party.
Oh, I didn't know his last name was Smith.
The attractive one.
Yeah, the dude that fucked.
Also has the personality.
The dude that
also has
the one with the personality.
Works out, 6-pack, everything. Bullshit. It is unacceptable.
It's frustrating.
Somebody needs to cripple his ass.
And he was the only one that fucked, except for the other girls.
Yeah, you're right. Well, if he breaks both of his legs, that cast you wouldn't even be able to see the white under it. It'd be signed so much. God.
Just be dick.
That's the other. Speaking of Austin fucking, I watch every time. What's up, Austin?
Austin at 1616, go fuck yourself straight.
No, the last time I saw Austin was at a party where there were girls, and you were there.
Stay away from them girls.
No, but it reminded me of like how I have to. How different I am when I'm telling jokes and being funny and when I'm trying to actually talk to someone. Because I think I was drunk, but I think I mentioned Dick Cheney to a girl I was hitting on. And I said something objectively funny, but not the right time.
Because it was a political joke?
Bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works for him.
It didn't.
Oh, we saw.
You were there. You saw me wake up alone.
Oh, I was not there. I left at 12:30 because I'm an adult.
That's not when adults leave parties.
They leave earlier, I think?
Ones go.
That party did feel very high school to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the ragers like that. I like having a
was
good
fun.
time, and yeah, the dude. Even if does feel a little high school, it was a lot of fun.
I got
Who
like
gives a shit?
4 stories from it, so I'm good.
Yeah, same.
No,
Fam.
seriously, straight like.
Also, when are you gonna start going into political comedy? Because you know you wanna.
This is something
I won't touch it,
I
but
did want to
continue.
talk about. It's something I wanted to talk
For
about.
those of you who don't know, Kellen is so fucking political.
Yes.
Go on.
Super into Trump. No, the other side. But here's the
Bernie
thing, and
Sanders?
this is going to make it crackle because I think we'll disagree. Comedy can be political, but comedy as activism, I don't think that works at all.
No,
And
Because
I
it
don't
gives the other
think.
side a chance to trivialize it because it's comedy, inherently, which is always my big thing about it. It just gives ammo in the other camp sometimes, and sometimes it's not worth the impact they're trying to do. But I understand them trying to, like, I understand people who are, like, influential and have big power through comedy want to have some impact, but they just kind of have to understand the place they got it from is going to get a lot of uphill challenges that they're going to hit. Like, it's just, I'll always endorse it, but whenever, like, they're like, I can't believe the backlash happened, I'm like, you can't? That's always my, really?
Well, of course it did, but you just can't pay attention to it. It's comedy. I think you
exactly.
should be able to talk about politics and stuff in comedy, but if you're tying it back to something serious and you get like a big standing ovation because of it, I don't think it's because you're making a point.
Yeah.
I think it's because you did something good. Like you did something cool. You're like,
Yeah, I
he
mean,
made a
I
point
think
in his
like
comedy.
SNL sucks right now. Like
Oh,
people
yeah.
that said
Oh, yeah.
Trump would be good for comedy, no, he's not, because they're all just making points now, and every comedian is just the news now. But it's Alec Baldwin instead of Trump,
Well,
and it's not funny. There's funny things to say about Trump,
Oh,
but
yeah, like every president. There's
just
always
constantly
stupid
being
shit to
like,
comment on.
"Oh, he's orange and retarded." Well, yes, but you have to make a better comment than that.
Well,
We have now officially dropped the R word in every podcast we've done, episode 2.
Well, on point here, I think that you have to separate what you think is funny from what you think is right. So like,
Oh, absolutely.
I get it.
yeah.
How it's like, if like it's kind of mean to say retarded, it's also funny. And like that scene
Yeah.
in Horrible Bosses, where Charlie Day finds out that Jennifer Aniston like drugged him and had sex with him, and he's like, "That's a rape. You did rape to me." Rape's not funny, but that scene
But
is,
he
and the
wrote a
funny
good-
joke he did about it is.
Yeah, he wrote a good joke about rape, so therefore.
Right, and I think you have to take that to politics and say, like, just because you were right about something that you
Doesn't-
said on
yeah.
stage, it doesn't mean it's good comedy.
That's just news. Yeah, I see
Right.
the point.
The
But do you
yeah.
think the problem is comedians making a point or them doing too much politics? Do you think it's too much politics or too much point making?
Too much point. I don't think you should make. The only point you should
I
make with
think-
comedy is that I am entertaining.
See, but when you make a point on something that people usually don't make a point on, I think you've done something good. Like when you make a comparison between two things that are super unsimilar, and then everybody can only see them as those two things.
I mean, as a
don't have-
vehicle for comedy, sure. Like like Dave Chappelle does a thing where he's like, well, you know, women, I know that you're not, like, just because you're dressed a certain way doesn't mean you're going to act a certain way. But if you go up to someone who's wearing a cop uniform and expect them to do cop shit and then they don't, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
So it's like,
So
so
it's-
maybe you're not slutty, but you're wearing a slut's uniform.
Yeah.
That was a vehicle to a joke. I wouldn't take that as a point about the way women dress or feminism.
But it is funny because it also makes a point.
It was a joke
I don't
performed at a
even know
show
about
that
what-
people paid to see a certain thing. So that's why it's
Yeah.
perfectly fine because that's what you go for. My thing is politicals and politicals. That's what I call them in mass. Is politics.
we refer to them
that's
so
a slur,
much,
right?
We have
It's one of your
to.
politicals. No, is
fucking politicals.
I just feel like the trappings in stand-ups trying to make points and politics is a lot of stand-ups formulas, not all of them, but a lot of them. Premise is a huge component, and premise can very much come off like a point. And I feel like the development of a joke can sometimes make a comic go like, wait a minute, I might have something here. And it's like that confidence and also the fact that they're getting thousands of people to come to their shows at one time. You can kind of go like, maybe I can do something. And it's kind of like, just make people laugh, man. That's what you want to do. And if you think you can do, I think it's okay to
that's
talk
them
about
making a
politics.
point.
I just don't want to ever do it because I just think
Yeah.
it's too heavy for people usually, and it's very polarizing too. And I never want to do that to an audience because you
Yeah.
can never guarantee one side is completely here.
That would suck.
And I don't want to risk any part of the audience. I'm not that great. I can't go like you still like me even though I said something you completely disagree with, right? I'm not
Jim
here to
Jeffries,
change
have you
someone.
seen where
I'm
Jim
here to
Jeffries
make
goes
someone
with his
laugh.
gun stuff?
Oh,
Yeah.
I think it's
Where
been
he
reshared
talks
every
about like
2 months. Yeah.
like he's like 20% of the audience is just looking up at the ceiling like, oh, you know, I like guns, but oh, look at the interesting ceiling while he talks shit about guns. And like he acknowledges that he lost half the audience with this material.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just the NRA saying we have to shut the fuck up. My bad.
Well,
His
fuck
phone
you,
rang for all of you that
Wyatt,
definitely
whatever your
didn't
fucking
hear.
name is. Oak? I don't know. It's not the name.
Yeah.
No, the other thing with politics in comedy is that if I do it, I will just get too mad to be funny.
I think it's hilarious when people yell. If have you ever seen a comedian blow up and it's not funny?
Yeah.
Well, besides Kramer.
Okay. Take it back.
I can't remember who did it, but someone did a joke where they were like doing how Kramer would respond to what Michael Richards said. Like, well, I guess I let the cat right out of the bag. But, yeah, no, I mean, the reason that, and I'm going to get political again, but the reason that there's no funny right-wing comedians is because they all get too mad. They start to do a joke about abortion, and they're like, liberals are like so crazy because they don't think that they're literally murdering babies. And if I start talking about politics for real, like the politics I actually care about, I'll be like, isn't it crazy how people on the right wing are stealing from the working man? The sons of bitches extracting our surplus value. So I think going to be angrier than
the right framing, because I've seen some new comedians who are just furious and it's annoying.
I mean, Lewis Black. I do like Lewis Black, though.
It's not that. Yeah, that's the thing. Most comedians who are yelling and get really passionate about something. You can find the comedy in that.
But you have
most of the time.
You have to make it part of the act that you're being angry.
Yes.
But if you're just literally getting angry about what you're telling a joke about,
it has to have. You have to have structured anger, as in you have to have structured anything.
Like Bill Burr, people love seeing him get fucking worked
Bill
up
Burr
over
is
something.
Such a phenomenal
but that's
comic,
his
and
shtick, so it fits.
He gets worked up. He gets mad about nothing, and that's what's hilarious. I would say, but maybe him and Lewis Black are funny because they get mad about nothing. They don't get mad about something with substance.
And I also think that
is
they were
true,
actually angry about that in the past. Like,
no, totally.
What I'm saying is, like, when Bill Burr talks about, like, killing himself because he's got to get 3 forms of ID for the bank or something, he actually felt that emotion at a different time. But now he's on stage. He's not. Now he's acting that emotion and maybe tapping into it, but he's not in the situation.
Though, I see what you're saying. You would still feel the emotion because it's still happening, and you haven't
exactly.
The politics haven't changed, and also you're not talking about something that's really light and like, oh, we had to get 3 forms of the ID at the bank. That's hilarious.
And isn't it funny that I thought that was
Isn't it funny that they're stepping on the working class and we're getting paid $10 an hour to bust our fucking backs, and CEOs are getting paid bazillions and they don't do anything.
Well, 380 times the average employee, by the way. That's what a CEO makes.
Kellen Frank.
Kellen Frank, see
how what I just said wasn't funny? Because I'm mad about it.
COO of Chase, JP Morgan.
Because speaking as a certified Fraggle, the person who's like, whenever I get mad about something, it's apparently hilarious, which, by the way, is super great for me. But, like, it's one of those things where it's something I notice where when you get super mad about something super trivial, it's comedy gold. Yeah. But I always feel like if ever I get mad about something that other people don't want to, like, carefully like entertain, like something like a value or a principle, it can shut down really hard, and it takes a certain special kind of somebody to be able to do it without polarizing.
Well, you don't get it. I don't think you get mad when you're doing stuff that's really like, if you're doing abortion jokes, you're not getting mad about it because that's polarizing. What you got to do is get like ease into those jokes. Any jokes that's like that, you ease into it. With jokes with less substance, you can just start at 100. But with jokes that are like, I murdered 17 people in a school shooting.
Carlin.
Louis C.K.
Carlin literally opened up one of his specials with, why is it that most of the people that are against abortions are people you wouldn't want to fuck in the first place? Like, that's what he opened with, because he's George Carlin, and he's able to kind of go like, welcome to the show. He's able to do that because that's his whole shtick in a handbasket, at least that portion of his life.
But that's not quite a political, like, it's tapping into politics, but he's not making a political point.
Exactly.
He's just like, look at these fucking uggos.
It's a joke, and they knew they came to see George Carlin.
Yeah, right, no one came in and go like, God, I can't wait for prayer hour when you're going to a Carlin show. Yeah. And like also Carlin's whole point with that, very much, I think Louis always used to do a joke that's always like, you know what I mean? Like they do that because it's like, hey, well, remember guys, this is a comedy show.
Yeah, you're not here for me to say things you would normally hear in
conversation. This isn't a TED Talk. I'm not here to change your mind.
Too. Like, and in a comedy show, you shouldn't be walking and they'd be like, I'm going to agree with every point. It's all going to be perfect and this and that and that. 90% of the time, the comedy that you're seeing isn't the finished product. That's what you see when the special is. And like, every time I go up on stage, I am working on it just because I don't have the venue to put out specials. And even when the big comedians who put out specials, they say, like, after the special's done, they're like, I usually think of like 4 or 5 good jokes afterwards that I just couldn't put in. So comedy is always a work in progress. And if you don't like a joke, there's a good chance I fucking noticed.
Yeah, right.
You don't need it.
And I'll do it differently next time.
I mean, if the whole crowd laughs and then you want to come up to me after the show and be like, I was offended, that's more understandable
Cool.
than if nobody laughs.
No, yeah.
And you're like, fuck you in the audience at the time. I'm like,
But here's the
don't
thing.
do that shit.
I also don't care. I don't want to be the guy that's like, I don't care if you're offended, because in a conversation between a small amount of people, I
Yeah.
care if I'm offending people. But if I'm doing jokes,
Yeah.
I'm not accountable for you
for
and
a
10,000
for a
people,
wide
you know?
audience, you're gonna offend some people by the things
course.
that are funny
That's
to other
just
people.
what jokes are. They're benign
Violations.
Thank you.
They're things that aren't meant to be.
Violations.
That's the core fundamental aspect of comedy.
Also, the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it benign.
But like,
Beneficent, perhaps? Benedictine?
like,
Maleficent.
the benign violation is something that isn't necessarily true or what you thought was going to happen, but it's okay. That's what comedy is. The unexpected. You know, that's what my whole shtick is based on, me saying something and the second or third part where you're like, oh, what the fuck, I didn't think he was going to say that. And like that, it sometimes, in some way, in some people's brain chemistries, can cause an offensive emotion to whip
fuck
up.
you, babe.
And here's my thing. When does it stop? When does, like you said, if it was a smaller group of people, you'd kind of care if you were making a bunch of, when it's like a freaking stadium and one person goes up to you and they're just like, I didn't like that. I feel like
I'm sure you didn't. Yeah.
You as a person who sold tickets and as the person who bought the ticket, you're able to look them in the eye and go, I'm not accountable for that.
I don't think you should
Be mad at your Uber driver more than you're mad at me. Like,
I think you should be accountable if somebody comes. Well, maybe accountable isn't the word. You shouldn't have to change your act if one person comes up to you after a show in front of 10,000 people and is like, I was offended here. But I think you should take it into account, because if one person comes up to you after every show the whole time you're doing it, that's okay. But if they start racking up, if every time you do it more people come, then you have to be like, okay, this joke might just be too offensive, or you have to double down. You just have to be accountable to yourself and know what that joke is doing.
and this is really
But you
like,
don't have to stop it.
Oh no, yeah. Really, the situation I was proposing was one of those isolated incidents where like I'm gonna feel
one
nothing
person
from that,
one time.
because then you're able to kind of go like, you know what, everyone else.
I
like
mark it up
I'm
as
gonna-
a tally on a prison
Yeah,
wall
yeah.
in solitary for 16 years. Like, that's one tally, and once they add up for one joke, then I'm like, oh shit,
But also-
this is a full room.
At the same time, you know, he could look at you and guess the size of your coffin. Like once you think of the joke, it stays in the act. That Mulaney line about where he says
Yeah.
he could look at you and guess the size of your
those
coffin.
Look at a child and guess the size of their coffin.
Yeah, because
J.J.
like, once
Bittenbinder.
you write it, it stays in the act. Those jokes are important, and I feel like that one was
just
super
so
effective.
you have fun.
No,
up there,
yeah,
'cause,
like that's like a
I mean, if
line
you're
you
not
gotta
having
walk.
fun, the audience for sure isn't.
They
The
smell
other
it
thing
on
I
you.
want
Yeah.
to say, though, is like the audience member that comes up to you and is offended and you're like, sorry, I'm going to keep it in, they're also not wrong.
No,
They
but
can
neither
like
are
a
you.
joke and not, yeah, you just,
And they
don't like
continue liking your act. They can be like, okay, as long as you like have the conversation with them, or you don't need to, but if they're willing to come up after you, I would give them the time of day and be
yeah.
like, hey, you're the only person who's ever said that. I understand that it is offensive. It is funny. It is a good part of my act. I'm not going to take it out because I think that some people should be offended sometimes, and I'm sorry that it has to be.
It's
you.
healthy.
Yeah, no, it's healthy. You should be mentally
and
challenged.
that said, there is what?
I said you
should be mentally challenged. You did.
You should
Let's
be
not let that
challenged
go.
mentally.
Listen,
Sometimes,
folks,
for
if
sure.
there's one thing that you need to know, if you're going to find my act funny, you got to be retarded.
It's a huge
Sure,
prerequisite.
hit yourself in the head with a brick a couple of times.
Because then it'll be funny. No, I do want to say that there are jokes and humor and stuff that is just offensive and bad.
And they're kind of just
Like
meant
what?
to be
Like,
almost.
I-
You're like,
I haven't seen any that I have seen and I've been like, this is for nobody, it needs to go away. I've
The
never
one,
seen
I
it.
haven't seen that it's for nobody. I've seen that it's for bad people. Like the one that's in my mind right now is Steven Crowder just did a thing where he did like buck teeth and weird rim glasses and like a
Chinese
race
accent.
cat
Yeah.
and was like, "Oh, me so sorry." Like I feel bad saying it like that.
Hey, like, it hurt me in my core to do it.
All right, Kellen, you're kicked off for good.
But it's like he's not.
right.
He's just. There are ways to do jokes that are just no. You're just being racist, and you're not.
Yeah.
And also because I know it really depends. It's hard to do this because it depends on the actual person. And with
Yeah.
Steven Crowder, I know because I've seen his other shit that he's actually an asshole. But like, you can think a Chinese accent is funny and not be racist. But if you are racist and you're doing a Chinese accent, you can be like, you're doing that because you actually think those people are laughable. Like, you don't think that's a funny
the
thing.
fine line.
My
That
thing is,
the
I
fine
feel like
line.
shock is dead as of right now.
Oh
Like,
yeah, shock is.
the reason shock is different from just like keeping people on the toes and the unexpected is shock is always meant to do pretty much just that. Like the Chinese accent thing. Ooh, these people are gonna nervously laugh at this if they're too
feels
drunk.
But that's the thing.
lazier.
That's
It
not
is.
what he's because the audience for him though, and I'm harping on Crowder here, but he deserves it. Fuck him.
He deserves it. Fuck
Is
it.
that his audience is like, ha, yeah, you should be racist. That's a good thing to do. That's what what free speech is.
How do you know?
Yeah, free
this?
speech is
'Cause
being
I'm
lawful.
playing devil's advocate here because I've never seen any of his material and I don't want to form an opinion without doing that. But how do you know that it's like racism and begotten by racism?
Because I haven't seen him be racist against Chinese people, but he does shit like he will drive around and go to like, you know, sometimes you'll find like day laborers will hang out around hardware stores,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are undocumented.
Yeah.
So he'll go and be like, "Oh, I need papers. Who's got papers?" And then at the
They'll
end,
just flee, yeah.
he'll at the end one of them goes, "I'm gonna call ICE on you, you motherfuckers." So that he's just like a
he's
being
just a horrible person.
He's just a bad
That's really
person.
bad. Yeah.
And race is how it comes out a lot. And I've seen him do that, and he's definitely got some weird shit about gay people. So it's like I know him to be a bigot, and I know it's coming from a bad place. So it's very tough to see a comedian
Do that,
and you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But if there's no
Yeah.
doubt, you have to say fuck him.
True.
I don't know. I have always been such a strong proponent of free speech, freedom of speech, because I had parents who were they weren't against it, but they were like just like all of us when I was growing up, I had to be very on my best behavior, and coming out as a comedian means you're gonna say some fucked up shit.
That's
and,
appropriate.
Well, it means you're gonna say some fucked up shit, and I had to like sit my parents down and have the talk and be like, when I do stand up comedy, I say terrible things, and I think it's funny, and they were super against it. So I had to like go through a lot to get to where comedically I can like say all of these things, and I know my parents are okay with it, and I know that I'm okay with it. So I'm naturally against walking back freedom of speech. That does sound very bad. I am
No,
not,
here's the thing. I don't even think we're talking about freedom of speech. I'm not saying he can't say it. I'm saying
It's bad
everyone who
form.
hears it should say he's bad. He's bad for doing
he's
it.
bad
I'm saying-
for him. Yeah. Everyone else's
I would
free speech
definitely agree
matters
with
for
that
that,
100%. I don't know if I'm saying he's well, he is bad. He is bad for doing it. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence of if he should be allowed to or not. As long as
I'm
he's
not. He should be allowed.
physically imposing harm on anybody, again, that's pretty much my line. As long as you're not threatening violence or causing violence, you should be allowed to say pretty much whatever. It's that line in there somewhere where you start like inadvertently causing violence. If you run around saying Jews are bad all day and then one of your followers shoots a Jew, then you're like,
no.
maybe I should tone it back. And if
Hey,
you
hey,
don't
Ben
have that
Shapiro, how's it
conversation-
going with Muslims, not Jews? Because he's Jewish, so he can't be racist. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Free
I am
pass.
trying my
neither can
hardest
you.
to not try my hardest to steer this into
I'm
politics
trying
instead
my
of comedy.
hardest to not try
Well,
my hardest. My God, put that on a T-shirt and a pillow because I want it. But here's my thing: when it comes to the very, very dirty battlefields of the horrible Venn diagram that is free speech and comedy, I will always say this: anyone can pretty much say whatever they want, but see, the catch-22 of that is so can everyone else, and the comedian's aspect is sorry, the audience rules your fucking life. They do. And while that seems like a suffocating thing, there's still going to be the people that come to your shows. There's still going to be the people that, because I'm sorry, the internet exists now. So if you want to be a comedian, you're going to have some kind of social media presence. And that means everyone anywhere is going to be able to see your stuff. So you as a comedian and a person that's trying to do their best to have the best, highest, top shelf comedy that they can muster out of themselves, you owe it to yourself to take the chance and go, you know what? As much as I like this joke and how it really represents a lot of what I feel, is it just going to cause me a lot of fucking hassle down the line that's really not worth it and really makes it so the dumb people get 1/4 the story, that leaves me looking like a bigot when really I was just trying to make a joke about something really innocent? That's something I always think about. And also, it kind of makes me hold my shit to a standard that I feel like I make my best material.
Well, you're a much cleaner comic than either Kellen or I, like by a mile.
And that's a conscious thing. Like, I
Yeah.
could be horrendous with some of the stuff I write. I used to have an
this is
18-minute
all
porn bit. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't do that stuff as much because I
That's
already...
just a tape.
Exactly, and that was just me talking in the camera with no clothes on, but the angle implied I didn't have clothes on.
We said it was porn because, like, it's not a bit about porn. The bit is, like, he's doing comedy, and he's jerking off, and that's what the porn is.
See, I was horrible.
He's talking about, like, Benghazi or something.
But, like, my thing is this, like, me being the certain level of clean is not really so much as me censoring myself as it is me kind of going, like, okay, I just got to be a little bit more clever. Because I still get to do Trojan Horse where I swear a
Yeah.
crap ton. I have that joke about orgies that I think is just
the
fine.
John Mulaney thing going on where it's like, I'm not actually clean, but everybody thinks I am because the bar for comedy currently
Requires
It's very
it.
dirty.
cunt is the average word.
It's just that, like, the
Put
reason...
that on a t-shirt. Cunt, the average word.
Personally, I feel like the reason Mulaney
make
is as
merch for
clean-cut
this
and
show.
economical as he is because he wrote for SNL, where he kind of was like, you have to be as
Yeah.
funny as you can,
PG-13.
while keeping it within the. And I feel like that is a way you can like train yourself to do the best material under certain circumstances. And as a comedian, where everything is your circumstances, you can make your best you. So sure, yeah, you want to make a stance with politics, and that's totally fine. Do it. Me, I'll never touch it because I treat that shit like radioactivity. And I mean, hey, if it's for you, it's for you. But for me,
it's very hard to do funny and right at the same time.
It's honestly exhausting, and I'm not even doing it. So it's kind of. Yeah. That's why my stance will always be super firm on that. So like in the discussion of this, I'm always going to be like, do you, man, but the consequences are already written on your headstone. Hi ho.
No, are you doing it like Ray Romano / Jordan Peterson / Kermit the Frog?
I was going
for 80% Kermit, but it's all good.
No, I don't know. I think that comedy is about taking risks. So I think you should. I think you should go out there and again. Everything I like to do is mentally challenge myself. I like to challenge myself.
Stop eating so much lead.
No, I like to do things that are harder. So that's why I'll go out there with a bit that I know can easily be construed as bad, racist, sexist, just too much swears, stuff like that.
But you're doing it in the context of, I know that this might be backlash.
I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
But so that's what I'm defending free speech more for newer comedians than anything else, because as a new comedian, you have to be able to say literally anything on stage, and the audience has to be able to boo the shit out of you in the same in one way towards the other.
And here's my beef with certain comedians now. I'll pick on Jerry Seinfeld because I know he's said it. They're talking about
literally tear him apart. He's not even going to listen to you. So go ahead.
That's why he won't know about
Even
it.
if this gets 400 million views and shares and it becomes the biggest video on YouTube, Jerry Seinfeld.
He'll be driving like a little stick shift convertible with Bernie Mac or some shit. He's dead. But whatever.
Hey Jerry, there's someone shitting on you in this video. Why would I watch it? I gotta make another episode.
Does he have millions of dollars? No.
What's the deal with this guy talking about my comedy? That's not a good Seinfeld. Anywho,
we're all just shouting with shrillness when we're doing a Jerry Seinfeld.
This is my Donald Trump impression. All right. No, so my issue with him is that they'll talk about like, oh, the new PC culture. People won't laugh. You can't tell any jokes. People won't laugh. No, what's happening is
that's just
you're
white
not.
People.
It's like
that's straight white men, man.
They're just frustrated they can't say slurs anymore.
Sometimes
really
doing
crippling not being able to make people really sad over things that they thought were truths.
Sometimes there's actual jokes though that just aren't funny to a millennial audience because now we have friends who are the butt of the joke that you're doing. So it's not funny anymore. Not because it was a bad joke.
Extra funny. I like turning to my gay friends and being like, ha ha!
I know you do.
Kellen's like, I'm usually that person.
Dude, what was that one you told the other day? The in the hot tub. It was like when
in the hot tub. Because we live awesome rad lives.
With the cocaine and the strippers.
No, but he was like, he turned to me and he said, oh yeah, you called something gay in front of everybody and everybody laughed, and you're like, there's nothing funnier than a gay man calling something gay. And
I didn't say there's nothing funnier. I said there's nothing easier than being a gay guy among straight men, because you can get a laugh. Just point at something and call it gay, and it is the funniest thing in the world to them that a gay guy calls something
gay.
Get
the inside source
and even though you have removed that veil from my eyes, and I totally agree with you, it's still funny, man.
Yeah, it's a power.
Yeah, because it's not about making a point about anything. It's just that's what they think is funny.
That's comical. Yeah.
I mean,
I tell you, I won't name anyone,
like an example.
but at some point I got in the hot tub and had to assure everybody that I didn't want to fuck any of them because they were weird. Their nips were out in front of 5
feet apart because they're not gay.
Well, exactly. When straight guys get drunk, they're like, everybody wants to fuck me.
Right, and they don't want me to fuck them, so they're very concerned about it. So I assured everybody, not going to fuck anybody in this hot tub. Later that night, one of the guys that was there goes, I was a little bit hurt that you said you wouldn't fuck me. And I had to reassure him that, like, I guess I would fuck you, but not you. I don't know what he wanted.
That's such a weird position to be in.
I'm not your validation whore.
I would prefer if you didn't fuck me, but I want you to want to fuck me. It's like, okay, well then you better do some interesting shit like make out with another girl or something. That's what girls do when they want men to not actually fuck them, but want to fuck them.
Yeah,
you
so
can't
go
just
make
ask
out with
me
a
to say
dude.
it.
I really wish you would have put your hand on his shoulder, like, and he's going like, you might be gay, dude. Just destroy his whole
That is
world.
a lot of power that I have in that I could make any straight guy think he might be gay.
You should just start doing that.
And when you do it, just
Dude,
go like this.
I think you might be gay.
Just shatter his
I
mind.
know. I know.
It's okay. I know. Just give him a hug.
Give him a hug? Yeah, I think
What
you're
were we
gay.
Yeah, you see how you're hard right now?
There was some really good points that we were making a second ago, and I'm trying to remember what we were talking about. It was
Let's just reminisce about this one party the three
Jerry
of us were
Seinfeld.
at.
Jerry Seinfeld, you're gonna rip on Jerry Seinfeld. And we did impressions that totally derailed.
Right. Yeah.
No,
I mean, I was just saying that there's. I think people have to realize that, like, the fact that you call it PC culture, but like society's just changing. People know lots of other different types of people.
Yeah.
And so stuff that used to be funny because you didn't know those people now is less funny because you know those people and you know what they're going through.
Well, I think you just gotta make the right jokes now. Not like
you gotta work
not
a little
all right
harder.
jokes. Yeah, you just gotta actually take into
just have to work a little
consideration
harder.
that they're like a person, they have feelings, and you can still consciously make the choice to destroy those feelings. But you should know what you're doing as a comedian. Whereas, like you were saying, they used to be farther away. Like Muslim people used to be something that we only joked about and never actually dealt with in day to day. Now we have a large Muslim culture in America, so when you're making the jokes, you got to just like take a little more time on it and be like, okay, how's this actually going to play out and how's this going to work?
And the other thing is completely apart from politics, or I think it's related, but I won't get into why because you'd shoot yourselves or just come shoot me. Our several
Lives at
listeners.
1660.
Actually, the name of our second podcast, Come Shoot Me.
Shoot me with jizz. It's a gay podcast.
All gay podcast network.
Jazz music in the
They probably have one of those. No, but I think that millennial humor is just way more nihilistic and weird than the previous generations. So Jerry Seinfeld is like, what's the deal with airplane food? And I'm like, I want Sonic the Hedgehog to shoot me with a gun while he's barefoot. And that's funny because it's
nonsensical because nihilistic.
Yeah.
The core concept is funny is what
Well,
you
it's
make it.
meme humor
Nothing
transferring
matters.
into stand-up comedy.
yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with we feel like we have no future, so it's just like fuck it. I won't get to
It's
it.
fuck
It's
it.
nothing
If you're
matters,
interesting,
but
Google
nothing matters.
Dadaism, but
Dadaism.
DADA. If you Google
Like
that, you'll find it.
daddyism, but missing a letter or two.
But worse, yeah. No, but actually,
But
basically,
worse.
after World War I, a lot of young people felt like, well, the world's actually terrible. Capitalism and empires are going to destroy all of us, and so they made nonsensical weird art. Like they're like, my art
Absurdist.
is look at this fucking toilet. That's my art. I put a toilet in a museum. That's my art. And it's weird. It doesn't really mean anything. And we're doing that now with like a picture of like. There's a video online where it's
mug on
like
a fucking spotlight.
memes used to be like, so I put this funny, colorful background up there and a little salamander character,
Yeah.
and he says, you know, get a water cup, fill it with soda, and now it's like weird shadow demons on an oversaturated background saying, me and the boys looking for beans at 3 a.m. and it doesn't mean anything because nothing does.
Like 500 years from now, archaeologists are gonna look at memes and go, "What the
Hieroglyphics, baby.
What the fuck does this mean?" And I think
Oh,
it's
Egyptians
beautiful.
didn't worship cats. They just thought they were funny, and they would just put them next to the pharaohs because they were like, I've been drawing bullshit all day. I don't care about this. Hey, bud, look at
And
this.
cats are super easy to draw.
Yeah.
Also,
Easy to draw and very funny.
cats are consistently funny.
They are very. That's why the internet is.
Don't even need weed for them to be funny. It
But, like-
helps, but they're funny anyway.
You tap into
Look at
something
you
that's
stupid
that's
fucking
really
face.
awesome and
Drop
really
your
cool.
cat.
Where once it's kind of like remember Duck and Cover. Remember when they were
Yeah.
teaching kids, hey, the world might blow up. That created like this weird absurdist theater is my favorite type of theater because it's literally humor that means nothing because you have to give it meaning. You know what I mean? Like so, like that's what's so great. Nothing matters, but nothing matters.
Which is
Thank
not
God.
bad. We have to imagine this happy, said Albert Camus.
If I make this funny. Like the whole like my favorite thing is there's literally a picture of Pete Davidson looking coked out of his mind next to adorable Ariana Grande, and it literally just said like a text on him that said me 7 hours into my horrible LSD trip going to the gas station for the third time to get cigarettes, and it's like Ariana Grande saying my friend who has a car, like you know like where it's that kind of hilarious thing where we read it, but like if you show your parents a meme, it's literally like you're showing them hieroglyphs. It's like
But yeah, they
Westworld.
don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like showing a Westworld android the outside. They're like, well, that doesn't look like much to me. That's exactly what that is. And it's so messed up because there's that much of a disconnect. So that's why
Well,
there's
is
like, you
it-
can't tell jokes now because you don't get the ones they're telling now, you assholes.
Is that lack of cleverness or is that just evolution of jokes? Because
Evolution.
I definitely
I think you have to
see
be cleverer now.
I think I disagree because I see some. There was a post I saw that I really liked. It was new art is I could have done this plus or 50% I could have done this and 50% but you didn't.
Right? You're talking about
like
modern
you
art?
miss all the
Yeah,
shots.
modern art is
Contemporary
Right.
art.
And then
nowadays.
like art is not about skill to capture realism. Like the thing that an artist needs is not a steady hand with a paintbrush. It's an idea of something to put on the canvas.
And the
so yes,
success
you could have
at putting it
physically
there.
made this series of blocks, but you didn't. And the point is that they thought to do it.
yeah.
like the really interesting thing between whenever anybody's like, I think I want to do stand-up comedy, I always kind of go like, well, it starts with starting, and that's really the way you know if you want to be a comic or not. If you've taken the stage once, you could be a stand-up comic. Want to know why? Because 99% of the world doesn't do that step. They always talk about it. They write in journals. They don't take a stage and try it. And even if you did it once and you never do it for the rest of your life, you had the ability.
I mean, you shouldn't consider yourself a stand-up comic, but you could. If you did it once.
You could do it. Well, I mean, no, that's the thing, though. That's what separates people from it, honest to God, is that one step of actually getting in front of an audience and doing it. Right now, stand-up comedy is hot and really topical because, you got people like Melania and Netflix pooping out a special every 32 minutes.
And thank God for it.
And thank God for it because it makes us relevant, but it's also giving a lot of people time to kind of look at it, but they're never going to do it. They just think it's a fun little thing. But it's the people that actually go up to the scary looking dude at the bar who's holding a little piece of paper. He's got like a denim shirt on that's sleeveless even though it's January. And you're like, hi, I was looking for the open mic. And he doesn't answer you. He just puts the paper down and the pen and he goes, do it. And that person chose what number, probably one, just to get the fuck over with and sat down and then did it. Yeah.
It's a good move.
And it's terrifying.
You can't freak out too much.
Exactly. And it's terrifying. But some people don't even walk to the bar. Some people don't drive to the bar. Some people don't get past the scary aura of the MC.
Even if he's smiling and visibly Canadian, he is still scary because he's holding that.
Because of what he represents.
Yeah.
Like you felt the trauma lift from your body when you got within a 5-foot radius of him. It doesn't matter. Because
it's too late. I'm here.
Because the veil of doing it is what makes the difference between people who like to create and those that are really entertained by things that are created. You know what I mean? Like, I really like seeing stand-up comedy. Maybe I can do it. Are you going to do it? No, probably not. I like writing jokes. Can you tell me one? Well, I'm really situationally funny. I like to kick those people in the teeth because I'm literally like, you're not. You're failing right now, by the way. Because it's like, I'm sorry. Like, because it's literally just
what
the
are you,
biggest...
an ad exec? Either I'm going to fuck you or you're going to be funny.
Well, no, but people who say I'm like situationally funny, I'm just like... okay.
I would say that of myself, though.
But you
certain
took the
situations
stage.
I did take the stage, but and here's
a porn star.
I feel like I was always going to do comedy, but I was never going to be as into it as you guys. Because maybe this is a huge cop-out, and probably in 10 years I'll be like, God, what I thought back then. But, like, my life is an art project because I can't figure out how to make it a normal life. So I'm just like, okay, then I better make a comment about life. So I'm just... So I would... I do not believe in myself enough to go up to anybody and present myself and say, you should take this seriously. So I instead do it with...
God, why would you? That's no fun.
Well, my thing is this.
It's not fun to be taken seriously. I'm not interested in that.
It's nice when people make that mistake about me.
I wear bow ties, dude. That was never my premise.
Dude, it's not... I don't get enjoyment from people taking me seriously. I get enjoyment from people being like, he's a good time. That's what's fun to me. I've gone through this part of my life where I was trying to be an adult so goddamn hard. And it was bullshit. It sucked. I hated it. So I don't want to be an adult.
Yeah,
I just want to have some fun. Just fuck around, man.
No, I do, though. I know that no one else agrees with me on this. I do. I went shopping today for groceries. It was fun. I was like, look at me. I'm a suburban guy.
It's way better than killing yourself. Way.
That is, yeah. For now.
I was going to say, like, I feel I like being able to say that when I notice crazy, ridiculous bullcrap in the world, I have a place I can take it to and get something out of it. Like, on the way here, I drove past an orthodontist office where one of the hygienists in scrubs was outside the building smoking a cigarette. Yeah, not that too weird, right? But she was still wearing the mask. Cigarette lit in her hand, mask covering her mouth. I drove past that just wondering.
And I'm like a glitch in a video game.
It straight up was. And it was like, do you know what hour it is? Is she just kind of like breathing really hard through the mask? Is it porous? I don't know.
But she's gonna lose a lot out the sides, I would imagine.
But like that's exactly my thing. I'm not gonna know, but I can sure go to an audience and voice my outrage and confusion. And
like,
that's one of the.
Please tell me.
That's the best. That's like, that's something I always like, and that's one of the main reasons why I feel if you go on a stage and you tell jokes, it's because partly you'd need to, and you discovered after a while, wait a minute, I can do something with this.
I absolutely need to perform and have people like me.
It does.
Validation is my lifeblood, and without it, I turn to dust.
Performing. Even if I go up there and I do a bad set, I still feel better than if I did not do a set.
No, I can feel the part of my brain that's getting the dopamine when people laugh at my jokes.
Oh, no, yeah. I'm not saying it doesn't feel better when I do well, but even when I do poorly, I still feel better than if I had skipped doing comedy that night.
I get that.
I always hate it when, like,
part of it is after enough years of comedy, you just bring your bottom up. And, like, even when I bomb, I still get a couple laughs. I used to go up and I just wouldn't get it. There would be silence the whole 5-minute set. That is a whole other feeling.
Yes, that would be bad.
I remember
You'll get there eventually.
bombings.
Not
are,
if I never do it again.
Bombings are the most important moments because it's like for me I always hate it
Detrimental.
when it does I always hated it when like the bombing severity outweighs your ability to like analyze it. It's kind of like you're on fire and you're just casually looking for like a cup of water to put yourself out. Like
And you
go out
have to keep it casual,
Yeah.
otherwise the fire gets bigger.
It's way
Yeah.
worse.
If you start panicking,
Like-
the fire gets hotter.
and don't even get me started on your first like heckle situation because or let alone your first time a heckler
am
wins.
Still bad with them.
Oh my god.
I am better, but the hecklers are still because it's
I haven't been, but I want to be.
No, you don't.
to get heckled.
I want it
Well,
to happen for the first
give
time.
it a
So I
little
get-
Band-Aid? Yeah.
Make my mistake. I was like, I want to try getting heckled, so I asked the audience to heckle me. Couldn't say a word because everybody
Yeah,
was
no,
just
I'm not gonna-
sitting there waiting. They're like, "Come on, bitch, come on."
Never underestimate how many people want to hate you in the audience. But that's where my insecurities from high school really do me well in stage time because I'm like, you all hate me. Let's see if I can change this.
Well,
but
have
like-
you seen that set where I think it was in Philadelphia where Bill Burr, like, the crowd is booing him, and he's
yeah.
like, "Fuck you, I'm staying up for the entire time."
Yeah, he did that,
I'm
yeah.
telling jokes, but I'm here the entire time.
Started
He
shitting
only
on
did like
Philadelphia.
3 more minutes before he left the stage.
Okay, I don't. It's
No,
been a
but-
while
but-
since I've
but
seen
he
it.
just
I
shat-
watched it and I was
he
like,
shat on
"Is it really
Philadelphia
gonna-"
for
I
3
was so
minutes.
invested, and then he didn't, and I was like, I don't blame him. They're booing a lot. He
was
thought
also a
that
festival,
they were.
too.
I honestly thought that he thought they were gonna stop booing. Like, how
Like
long
he
could
would
they
beat him into
possibly
submission.
boo for? And then they kept going, but he kept inciting him.
Well, I think
that's
I should,
true, yeah.
if I could recognize that, okay, they've turned on me, I would use it as an opportunity to be like, I'm gonna be really mean to these guys. Like,
I
because
think
I would
it's
like
a
to
double
chase
down
out.
to it.
Even with the microphone, you would have it. Once a whole audience turns on you, it is hard to get them back. But there are certain comedians that have the ability to do it, and it is beautiful. Yeah. I felt the audience turn on me in a couple of the bits I am doing right now, and then I know I can get them back with the one-liners that I put at the end consistently. So I'm glad I've structured my set that way. But also, it's a weird feeling to know like, that joke did so poorly that people hated me for a moment, and then the next joke did so well that people stopped hating me. And the night before, it was the opposite way. And it's like, what's happening?
And then you realize people were different. You know, like
And then that's the point of the podcast, is that everyone is special in their own way. That's our message, right?
Yes.
yeah.
And everybody should jerk off at 4:53 p.m. on June 29th.
Optimal time.
Like, should we start at the same time, or are we talking we should all finish?
Finish.
That's what I just wanted to make sure. Like, I just,
We'll make
so
sure
think
I'm
about how
here.
long it's going to take you to come and backdate.
Figure it out, yeah.
Do the math. You're next to you're in your bed and there's just like 8 pieces of scrap paper with all these algorithms written on it. And you're like, I'm gonna do it, Elizabeth.
Can't crack the code.
What are you doing? Don't break my concentration.
That set me back 13 seconds.
I'll never forgive Connor for introducing the term shooting ropes to me.
That was you.
Was it
That
me?
was
No,
Kellen.
you told it
Yeah.
to him, and then you told me it.
Or-
So
a
you're
lot
the
of-
true bad influence in my life.
A lot of the things that I say just because I enjoy being uncomfortable and as I'm being funny, they become part of what things you just actually say.
Big yeet.
Like big yeet, I said because I was like, yeet is kind of a dumb thing to say. What would make it dumber? Just the dumbest adjective is big. Objectively big is the dumbest adjective. So if you just say big yeet, and now it's just party, and it's because it's you've reinfected me now. It's part of my lexicon.
it's part of my lexicon, you bastard. You
Welcome.
infected me with your virus. Your syntaxical virus from hell.
Full Send's another good one. Or Send It.
Send it. What are you silly? I'm still gonna send it. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, we crashed that ATV.
If you don't like shooting ropes, think of slanging ropes. There's a new
Well,
one.
that makes me think of
God.
Spider-Man, which objectively is
Brendan's got a
worse.
good one. He said slapping hips.
Slapping.
No, his was smashing pelvises. That
Oh,
was his.
smashing pelvises. It's
I
like
can't remember-
smashing pumpkins, but instead of Billy Corgan, it's Billy Cochran.
Cock again.
Kind of again. Either way, it still looks like
That's
his face.
an underutilized form of comedy. Is you pick a topic and you do like porn names for it.
Oh.
So like if you just like pick like bands, so smashing pelvises instead of smashing pumpkins. Billy Cockigan or Philly Cockin Men. There you go. That's even better.
I still think my favorite
What
thing
about
is called-
Black Sabbath?
Black sagging cock. No, black sag tits.
Ah.
There you go. You have to. It helps if you get to weird fetishy porn. You've got to more,
got it.
latitude.
I was gonna
Stab
say.
both holes? No.
I was gonna say black cabbage. It sounds sexual, but it's not.
No, it doesn't. Sounds like it's sexual disease.
My favorite little
Blue
riffing game is
waffle.
called a tag along, where you think of something you either hate or love, you just shoot it, and then you just kind of come up with reasons to describe how much you hate it. Like, I don't like going to the dentist. I'd rather have a freaking like nylon rope tied around my balls and put to a hitch of a truck, and then brought on a NASCAR thing.
And the truck has truck nuts.
And just put a freaking brick on the gas and just watch me make 3 rounds before going to a dentist. That's
Dragging
what-
by my testicles.
Another good one is Don't Get Me Started, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
you have to pick just something that you're not actually annoyed by and rant about it.
like cabbages. Don't even get me started. That stupid
Fucking
fake flower
cabbages.
botany disaster.
I mean, first of all, fuck the Irish.
yeah.
Let's start there. Fuck
Start there.
potatoes, first and foremost.
Famine was the best thing that happened to them. Just like,
potatoes,
whoa.
yeah.
Thank you, Oliver Cromwell, for killing so many of them. Jesus.
Explain.
So many people are gonna Google that and go, "Wow,
Oh, he did kill a lot of them.
Very
And the king. Oh, but then they got him.
One of them.
very niche reference."
Oh, I'm full of niche references. It's
Which
a disease.
is the title of your sex tape.
Niche references. Yeah.
Full of niche.
Full of niche
It's got
references.
that weird like font that makes it look
It's
sexual.
the niche reference is actually a French girl's name, and she was fist deep inside of you.
Okay, got it. Yeah, this sounds like I think I'll enjoy this. I guess.
Fist deep, and then you realize she's Wolverine. That's something I wrote the other day that I thought was funny. Didn't realize it was gonna
You
come
ever
up
get
like
fist
this.
deep and then realize you're Wolverine? Ha cha 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 cha.
Oh, folks, you didn't see it, but I pulled my collar like an old timey fella.
Because I am a visual gag guy.
1920 Miss Man strikes again.
It's so terrible how many we need to get people to like classic literature so that
Yeah.
my jokes are funny.
No, yeah, I feel that. I feel
'Cause
that.
I
think
wanna,
there's
go
an
on
easier
stage.
way around it, and it's talk more about pizza and stuff.
I
rather
know. I
not.
want to go on stage and be like, you know how I'm gayer than Oscar Wilde. I talk about men's lips even more often than he does, and I want people to understand why that's funny.
I would say go for it. The Ashbury's the crowd that you might get that audience,
Might.
but
No, I just
or
want
you'll
it in
be
everyday.
the most niche comic that has ever existed.
I want it in my everyday life. Like the other day at that party, someone
Right
broke
for
a bottle.
the New Yorker.
No, I hate those people.
But
They're
what?
the worst.
Someone broke a glass bottle at the bottom of a pool, and I almost suggested, "Oh, break another bottle." Like that scene in Merchant of Venice where they shoot the self-same arrow. No one will get this.
Here's my thing.
I just
On the
died
subject
in
of
my
that,
throat.
real quick, I would like to point out a very beautiful moment from that moment you just described, where I was sitting in a hot tub and a person casually walked up to the hot tub and went to the owner of the place and went, "Hey, so do you have one of those like pool cleaning nets?" And she went, "Yeah, why?" "Someone dropped a bottle in the pool and I was just hoping to get some. It broke. There's glass in the pool. Can I get it?" And she went, "Yeah, it's over there." And then he left, and I just went to go, "This party is perhaps too chill."
I don't think anyone had smoked weed at that point yet.
It was so chill that 45 minutes later I was in that pool. 10 minutes later I went, "Wait a minute, wasn't there glass in there?"
Recently,
I was sitting there with a couple other people watching them hunt for glass, and I was like, "We should help. We're not. Oh, it looks terrible. We're not going to."
No, yeah, I'll be over here in the hot tub where we just
I
get
had to
updates.
get goggles for them. And the whole time I was getting them goggles, I'm like, it's still pitch black out here with goggles, man.
Right.
I just love the fact that that water was like murky by the end of that
It was
night.
disgusting by the end.
Oh, dude, it was a soup. It was awful.
Yeah,
And
well, they
what
have
it
a
was
mineral
mostly
water,
just-
so it's like it's easier to throw off the pH balance in
No,
a
yeah, I
mineral
imagine.
water pool than
And you have to
chlorine.
just drink it if they're like,
That guy wasn't lying about it not being chlorinated.
No, it's mineral water.
Okay, sure.
No, seriously.
No, I guess it. I'm
Kelly's
agreeing with you
vomit.
now. I'm just like, I don't know.
No, yeah,
No,
yeah.
that was just full of horny sweat, is what that pool was full of. Do we only go an hour?
I think so.
Okay.
I like that. I like that tag.
Okay, yeah, just because.
Let's end on horny sweat.
All right, on 3, everybody put their hands in. 1, 2, 3.
Horny sweat.
Let's do
favorite
some
band.
plugs and then we'll leave.
I
You
got
wanna
nothing to
plug
plug,
after
man.
Horny Sweats? Okay.
Well, we have the show Bane and Jenkins coming up soon.
Filming will commence really soon.
Yeah, we have music, the promo we shot with Dozen/PG12. He's going to release it at some point. We'll share that on our Facebook. Follow The Connor Ford Show on Facebook, The Connor Ford Show on Instagram, The Connor Ford on Twitter. Tyler?
I have nothing to plug besides the things you've already plugged. Be a good person. Whenever someone's angry with you, always assume that they're probably dealing with some crap. Give them a chance to be nice. And if they aren't, be devastating and clever. There we go.
Pretty much everything Connor said, he knows all this stuff. Also, my Twitter account, I guess, Kellen, K-E-L-L-E-N.
It's really funny. You guys should follow it.
It's half of it's very funny, and half of it is earnest, not funny politics.
Well, it's funny if you Google it. There's usually a joke.
It requires a little bit of work. But
I
it's
have
worth
Googled
it.
many a Kellen tweets.
But you already have your phone in your hand, so just Google it. Kellen_Frank. And, you're probably gay.